So 100 million euros for a striker, a national team manager getting sacked before he even, holds a single training session, and enough 16-year-old prodigies moving across borders to basically fill an entire high school. Welcome back to the deep dive.
I mean, it is just absolute chaos out there today.
Total chaos. But honestly, before we really pull apart the madness of today, which is July 27, 2026, I have to send a massive thank you to you, our listener, because if you are tuning in right now, you are part of that loyal core that lives for this kind of transfer gossip. You're the people who love obsessing over the tactical and financial chess moves just as much as we do.
It really is a community of, football obsessives, which is exactly what you need to navigate today's landscape.
Oh, yeah, you definitely need us today. I'm looking at a massive stack of sources, and our mission for this deep dive is really simple. We are going to cover all the news. We're not missing a single piece. We've compiled every single rumor, every done deal, and every collapse negotiation.
Which is an ambitious mission, because today's intel, it really provides a cross-section of the entire global football ecosystem. We're looking at everything from the absolute pinnacle of the sport, the 100 million euro mega deals, right down to tiny, highly strategic development loans.
Right. The stuff that really reveals how clubs are actually being built behind the scenes. And please remember to keep liking, sharing, and subscribing so we can keep decoding this market together. But let's start right at the top of that food chain, because the blockbuster battles are just dominating the headlines right now.
They really are.
Yeah. Real Madrid has officially beaten Paris Saint-Germain to the signature of RB Leipzig striker Yan Diomande. And the numbers here are staggering. We are talking a flat 100 million euros plus another 20 million in add-ons.
What stands out to me isn't just that final price tag, it's the statement of intent. Madrid beating PSG, a club that is, let's remember, backed by sovereign wealth. That is a flex of pure institutional prestige.
Yeah, 120 million is a massive flex.
Exactly. When you commit a total package of 120 million euros to one player, you aren't just buying a striker. You are buying the anchor for your commercial and tactical project for the next decade.
Which leaves PSG completely out in the cold on this one. And it kind of seems like PSG is actually taking hits from multiple directions today, because over in England, Liverpool is making a massive move. They have made Bradley Barcola their undisputed top priority to replace Mo Salah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the fuel for this fire, Barcola outright rejected a contract extension in the PSG.
Now that is a fascinating psychological indicator.
Yeah.
Because trying to replace a legendary figure like Mohamed Salah is arguably the most intimidating job in world football.
I mean, the pressure at Anfield for whoever takes that spot will be suffocating.
Unquestionably. The tactical fit is only half the battle. You need a player with a very specific, almost bulletproof mental profile. So when Liverpool's scouting department sees Barcola actively rejecting the comfort and, the guaranteed domestic dominance of staying at PSG, they see ambition.
They see a guy who wants the heavy crown.
Right. They see a player who wants a new, highly demanding project. It signals to Liverpool that he might just have the emotional resilience required to actually wear that shirt.
It makes total sense. Now, while those massive moves are shaping up, I noticed a very different trend in our sources today. It is very much the day of the aggressive public denial. Clubs are just sprinting to the microphones to shut down fake news.
The PR machines are definitely working overtime today.
They really are. I mean, Fenerbahçe came out and completely denied making a 100 million euro bid for AC Milan's Rafael Leao. Then Galatasaray firmly refuted all reports regarding Jamal Musiala, stating in no uncertain terms that, no negotiations are happening and he is not leaving Germany.
And there was the Chelsea one, too.
Yes. Over in London, Chelsea formally denied any interest in Mexican striker Julian Quinones, despite him having an absolutely brilliant run in the 2026 World Cup.
You see, this is where the transfer market operates, very much like traditional financial markets. Controlling information is just as important as controlling capital.
But I have to push you on that. Why do they even bother? If a rumor is totally fake, why not just ignore it? It's like a high-stakes poker tournament, right? Let the tabloids sell their papers, keep your head down, do your actual business. Why make the dramatic public statement?
Well, because if we connect this to the broader mechanics of football operations, an unaddressed rumor is basically a ticking time bomb for both your balance sheet and your dressing room.
A ticking time bomb. How so?
Let's break down the mechanics.
Yeah.
Imagine you are Chelsea's current starting striker, right?
Yeah.
and you wake up to reports that your club is secretly bidding for Julian Quinones, your morale instantly drops. Your agent is immediately on the phone demanding answers or, looking for an exit strategy.
Oh, so it just poisons the water internally.
Exactly. It creates unnecessary friction. And then you have the external pressure from the fan base. Let's look at the Galatasaray situation.
Musiala.
Right. If their fans start believing the club is actually capable of signing Jamal Musiala, who is a world-class talent, and then it obviously doesn't happen because it was never true to begin with, the fans don't blame the media.
Oh, they blame the board.
Always. They blame the board for failing to deliver. So it creates this sort of artificial disappointment.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense from a human resources and PR standpoint. But you mentioned the balance sheet. How does a fake rumor actually hurt a club's finances?
It creates what we call market inflation. Think about it. If Fenerbahçe allows the European market to believe they suddenly have 100 million euros just lying around to bid on Rafael Leão, what do you think happens when they try to sign their actual targets?
Oh, I see. The selling club looks at Fenerbahçe and says, well, we know you have 100 million in the bank, so the price for our guy just doubled.
Precisely. It is a perceived wealth tax.
Yeah.
So public denials are a vital tool for market stabilization. You have to actively burst those speculative bubbles to protect your negotiating position on the deals you actually want to make.
That is brilliant. So bluffing, or calling out a bluff, is just as crucial as the actual chips you push onto the table. It's not about the player in the rumor at all. Now, moving away from the players driving the market, let's look at the managers, because the people sitting on the bench and the people getting kicked off of it are dictating a huge chunk of today's moves.
Managerial moves often trigger player moves.
Exactly. Let's start with Fulham. They are sending a formal proposal for Real Madrid's young striker, Gonzalo Garcia. Now, a Real Madrid prospect dropping down to Fulham might raise some eyebrows until you look at who is holding the clipboard at Craven Cottage right now.
Fulham's new manager is Alvaro Arbeloa.
Right. The exact same coach who promoted Garcia last season in Madrid's system.
And this reveals a hidden but incredibly valuable currency in modern football, which is managerial loyalty. You see, when a manager like Arbeloa takes over a new club, his biggest challenge isn't actually the tactics board. It is implementing a new system with a dressing room full of complete strangers. Time is always working against a new manager.
Because if you don't get results in the first 10 games, you're out.
Exactly. So bringing in a player like Garcia is a strategic shortcut. Garcia already implicitly trusts Arbeloa. He understands his tactical demands, and he can act as an on-pitch translator for the rest of the squad.
It accelerates the transition.
Immensely.
It's essentially bringing your best mid-level manager with you when you jump to a new corporate gig. They already know how you operate. But speaking of new gigs, we really need to unpack the absolute fiasco happening with the Italian national team today.
The Andrea Pirlo situation.
Yes. In a shocking, completely off-pitch development today, Andrea Pirlo's appointment as the head coach of Italy was abruptly canceled. He will not lead the Azzurri, and the reason is entirely corporate. It's because of his role as a global ambassador for a Russian betting company called FonBet.
It is a remarkable turn of events. It perfectly highlights the non-sporting complexities federations have to navigate in 2026.
I have to admit, I struggle with this one a bit. A pre-existing corporate sponsorship entirely torpedoing one of the most prestigious jobs in world football. I mean, it feels a bit like a massive overreaction. It's like getting fired before your first day at a new office because of a bumper sticker on your car.
I can definitely see why it looks that way on the surface. But we have to remember that national federations operate on a completely different plane than club football. They are not just sporting bodies. They function as extensions of national identity and really soft power diplomacy.
So they just can't afford the PR hit.
It is a dual-layered minefield. And just to be clear, we're just reporting on the realities of the source material here, not taking a political stance.
Yeah.
But first, you have the geopolitical optics of a prominent Russian affiliation in the current global climate. Federations are deeply sensitive to how that is perceived internationally.
Right, of course.
And second, football associations have incredibly strict ethical regulations regarding betting and gambling entities. You just cannot have the face of your nation's footballing project tied to a foreign betting conglomerate. The conflict of interest, both ethically and diplomatically, is insurmountable for a national federation.
It really highlights the contrast, doesn't it? Arbeloa's personal connections secured him a key player and strengthened his position at Fulham, whereas Pirlo's corporate connections completely severed his managerial aspirations before they even started.
It is a stark reminder that at the elite level, who you are associated with off the pitch is scrutinized just as heavily as what you do on it.
Speaking of complex associations, we need to pivot to Serie A because the Italian domestic market is putting on an absolute masterclass in complicated relationships today. They are swapping players, trading loans, and looping deals together in ways that honestly make your head spin.
The level of interconnected activity in Italy today is staggering.
I want to walk through this web because it starts with Roma and Bologna. Roma is in the final stages of buying Bologna striker Santiago Castro. The fee is 30 million euros plus 5 million in add-ons. But in a completely parallel move, Roma's Artem Dovbyk is joining Bologna on a loan deal.
It is a brilliant piece of reciprocal problem solving.
But wait, Bologna didn't stop there. Alongside getting Dovbyk, they officially signed Argentine midfielder Mikel Amondarane from Estudiantes for 10 million euros. And now they are actively competing with Ajax for Wolves' tall striker Tolu Arrokodare. But the crazy part? Bologna only has a clear shot at Arrokodare because Fiorentina suddenly withdrew from that race.
Which triggers another massive chain reaction.
A huge one, because Fiorentina took the money they were going to spend on Arrokodare and dropped 30 million euros on Udinese youngster Arthur Adda, locking him down until June 2031. Then, to balance their books, Fiorentina loaned left-winger Robin Gosens to Schalke 04, attaching a 2.5 million euro permanent option.
They've been busy.
Oh, it gets better. They also fielded a purchase proposal from Torino for Pietro Camuzzo, and they are currently processing a loan deal with Juventus for right-back João Mario.
I mean, that is an entire summer's worth of business executed in a single news cycle.
And we aren't even done with Italy. Juventus, who is dealing with Fiorentina, also agreed to loan striker Lois Openda to Olympique Lyon for a season with a 3 million euro loan fee. Meanwhile, Lazio is in the trenches trying to secure Dinamo Zagreb's Spanish center back Sergi Dominguez.
Because they need to replace Mario Gila.
Exactly. Signing Duecki earlier wasn't enough to replace Gila, who they lost to AC Milan, but the Dominguez negotiation is wild. Zagreb dropped the asking price from 15 million down to 12 million euros, but Lazio is countering with a heavily structured deal, 3.5 million up front plus 8.5 million in add-ons.
Very specific structure.
Right. Oh, and just to cap off the Serie A carousel, Alessio Zurabin officially left Napoli for Frosinone for 2 million euros on a deal to 2029, and Venezia secured Sevilla's Nigerian striker Akwar Adams for 16 million.
That is just a phenomenal amount of interlocking data.
I need a glass of water after reading all that. But here is my question. When I look at Lazio offering a weird 3.5 million up front with 8.5 million in add-ons, or Roma and Bologna essentially trading players like kids trading cards in a schoolyard, is this just because Italian clubs don't have the endless Premier League TV money? Like, are they just scraping by?
It is tempting to look at it purely as a symptom of financial constraint. And you are right, the broadcast revenues in Serie A don't rival England. However, dismissing this as just scraping by really misses the genius of it. What you are actually witnessing is a highly sophisticated masterclass in asset management and risk mitigation.
Okay, how so? Walk me through the Lazio deal, for example.
Let's look at that offer for Sergi Dominguez. Dinamo Zagreb wants 12 million euros. If Lazio were a Premier League club, they might just write a check for 12 million and be done with it. But Lazio is offering 3.5 million up front, with 8.5 million in performance-based add-ons. I want you to think of this like a venture capital investment with milestone payouts.
Okay, so the payouts are triggered by specific events.
Exactly. Those add-ons will be tied to metrics like appearances, qualifying for the Champions League, or winning trophies. If Dominguez struggles to adapt to Italy and flops, Lazio is only on the hook for the initial 3.5 million. They protected their downside.
Wow.
But if he plays brilliantly and triggers at 8.5 million in add-ons, Lazio is thrilled to pay it. Because his performances will have generated more than enough revenue through prize money or TV rights to easily cover the cost.
It's essentially a performance-based insurance policy.
Precisely. And this ties into the concept of amortization, which is the lifeblood of how Serie A front offices operate under financial fair play rules.
Okay, let's unpack amortization, because we hear that word thrown around constantly during transfer windows. But what does it actually mean in practice? Like, for a club like Fiorentina buying Arthur Adda for 30 million.
Amortization is essentially an accounting mechanism. When Fiorentina buys Arthur Adda for 30 million euros and signs him to a 5-year contract, which they did, until 2031, they do not record a minus 30 million euro hit on this year's balance sheet. The cost of the transfer is spread evenly over the length of the contract.
So 30 million divided by 5 years
is 6 million euros a year.
Oh.
Right. For accounting purposes, Fiorentina only spent 6 million euros this year. By combining amortization with these clever player swaps and loans with buy options, Italian clubs can constantly refresh their squads and remain incredibly competitive in Europe, all without technically breaking their annual budgets.
That completely changes how you view these deals. It's not that they don't have money, it's that they are stretching every single euro to its absolute maximum utility. But as brilliant as that financial engineering is, there is a totally different strategy playing out in the rest of the world today. It feels like the market has entirely polarized.
How do you mean?
Well, looking at our sources, clubs outside of Italy are either throwing millions at literal children, or they are locking down aging veterans for immediate stability. There is almost zero middle ground. The youth arms race in particular is out of control.
We are definitely seeing a paradigm shift in global scouting.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal is bringing in a 16-year-old winger named Axel Doncho from Cardiff City. And just to give you an idea of how fast this kid is moving, he made history playing against adults in the EFL Trophy back in October 2025. Fulham is matching that energy, securing their own 16-year-old Erskine Rennie from Celtic.
Locking down British talent before they even hit the first team?
And it is happening everywhere. Bayern Munich just permanently signed Senegalese youth Bara Sapoko Ndiaye until 2031. He impressed Vincent Kompany while on loan, and his former club, Gambino Stars, gets a cool 3 million euros.
Which is huge for them.
Massive. Schalke 04, who we know just took Gosens on loan, also bought a 19-year-old Turkish center back, Mertcan Ayhan, until 2030. Nottingham Forest sent a massive 21 million euro package proposal to Feyenoord for Javira Reed, who apparently really wants an English move. And Manchester City is sending youngster Sverre Nijpan on a full season loan to Lommel SK in Belgium.
That Manchester City move is the key to understanding this entire youth trend.
But is it a good trend? I look at this and see a terrifying amount of risk. Spending 21 million on a teenager like Reed or uprooting 16-year-olds like Doncio and Rennie. Aren't we just throwing kids into an industrial meat grinder? Like, doesn't the intense pressure of the modern transfer market ruin these kids' development by uprooting them so early?
You are raising a very valid ethical and psychological concern regarding player welfare. But if we look at this purely through the lens of modern sporting economics, this is how clubs are trying to beat the market inflation we talked about earlier.
Right, the perceived wealth tax.
Yes, the math is brutal, but effective. Acquiring a player at 16 for 3 million euros is exponentially cheaper than trying to buy that exact same player 5 years later when they are 21 and worth 60 million.
It's like you are buying the tech stock before the IPO.
Exactly. But here is the catch, and this is where Manchester City's strategy comes in. You cannot just buy a 16-year-old and drop them into a Premier League dressing room. It stunts their growth. They need minutes. To make this strategy work, you need a massive, sophisticated infrastructure.
Oh, you mean the multi-club ownership model?
Precisely. The City Football Group owns or partners with clubs all over the world. They acquire a highly rated talent like Sverre Nijpan, and instead of leaving him to play meaningless academy games in Manchester, they immediately deploy him to Lommel SK in the Belgian second division.
So it acts as a controlled incubator.
Yes. Nijpan gets to play aggressive, professional men's football in an environment where the parent club still controls the tactical philosophy, the coaching style, and all the medical data.
It's talent hoarding on an industrial scale. You build a pipeline so you never have to pay retail price for a superstar again. And while this frenzied land grab for youth is happening, the veterans are quietly cashing in. Memphis Depay just agreed to extend his contract with Corinthians in Brazil until June 2028.
A great move for him.
Yeah, and over in Saudi Arabia, Al Hilal opened talks with Everton for striker Iliman Ndiaye right after successfully capturing Crescencio Somerville. And former Chelsea defender Kurt Zouma agreed to continue his career in the Middle East by joining Palm City.
It illustrates the total globalization of the player life cycle.
Right. You enter the system at 16 through a European mega clubs affiliate in Belgium. You play your prime years in the Champions League, and you spend your twilight years securing massive contracts in emerging leagues like Saudi Arabia or Brazil. It really is a finely tuned ecosystem.
It functions like a well-oiled, multinational corporate machine.
Yeah, it really does. Well, looking at my notes here, I think we have officially cleared the board. Mission accomplished. From the €100 million mega signings to the PR warfare to Serie A's financial acrobatics and the global youth arms race, we have decoded and delivered every single piece of today's transfer gossip.
We managed to navigate the chaos and find the underlying logic.
And we couldn't do it without you, our listener, tracking these rumors alongside us. Thank you again for joining us on this deep dive into the transfer market. Before we go, a quick reminder to hit that like button, share this with your fellow football fanatics, and subscribe so you don't miss a beat when these deals are finally made official.
And as we sign off, I want to leave you with something to ponder. We talked today about 16-year-olds being traded globally, like venture capital assets, and clubs utilizing international affiliate teams as development incubators. If this multi-club model continues to expand, are we approaching a future where local clubs lose their geographic identity entirely? Decades from now, will teams still feel like community institutions, or will they simply function as temporary holding companies for global talent portfolios?
That is a fascinating and honestly slightly terrifying thought to leave on. The soul of traditional football might be transforming into something unrecognizable. Keep pondering that, keep your eyes on the headlines, and we will see you next time.